Vasaraga's crossover travel distance has been adjusted to match other characters. That was the old version. Here's the new one. Dramatically improved overall. This will help Vaseraga close the gap against some potential pokes. All of Vasaraga's heavy attacks, close standing heavy, far standing heavy, crouching heavy, and dash heavy, and their charged forms have all received massive buffs to them. We'll go through each move one by one, starting with the close standing heavy. Before, I'd argue it wasn't really worth charging any of these normals up outside of like using it to try and frame trap the opponent going for a brave counter or something like that. You didn't enhance any of the move's properties. The damage and frame advantage on hit was still the same. And the frame data on block also remained the same. All these principles used to apply to all of these moves in the previous patch. Now, focusing on close standing heavy specifically, the startup has been reduced by 5 frames, so instead of taking 35 frames to charge, it now only takes 30. In addition, the damage increases. It no longer does the same damage from 1900, instead it does 2300 damage. And you'll also notice the biggest change here, where it causes the foe to crumple on counter hit. In this situation, you're now +8, which means Vaseraga is able to get a full combo from this. Additionally, if the opponent blocks it, instead of being -4, you're +0. Additionally, you are no longer pushed back from the corner. You stay point blank on the opponent. Additionally, against an airborne opponent, it now has 60 frames of hit stun, up from 26. This gives you an easy time converting into high damage combos. Here's what it would look like before. Far standing heavy sees similar changes. The startup has been reduced from 37 frames to 30. Damage on a successful hit has been increased from 1500 to 1900. And you also get a grounded crumpled hit where you have about 10 frames to make a link. Using some special cancels, you're able to get some cool stuff. Additionally, when it's used to anti-air the opponent, it now has a new knockback and the opponent is sent into a wall bounce even when they're hit by mid-screen. There's some potential here for Vaseraga to pick up combos. This crouching heavy also has a reduced startup down to 30 frames. The damage now does 1800 instead of 1400 when it's fully charged. And it causes a juggle state on grounded hits. In the corner, you're able to link a close medium slash. In mid-screen, you can special cancel and pick up more hits. There's also increased hit stun against mid-air opponents. For his dash heavy attack, when it's charged, the travel speed and distance have both been increased. You see similar increases to its damage, as well as the mid-air hit stun it has, and a new launch height as well. You're able to pick up some combos from this as well now. Arguably the most important change for it is that now it causes guard crush on block. Before, if you charge this up, you'd be -4, just as if you use a normal dash heavy attack. Now, you can actually be +2 in this situation. This is pretty big for Vaseraga, actually. There's a reason for him to charge all of these moves now. To give you an idea of how big some of these changes are, I was able to get some help from one of my Colorado players, Dez, who's been playing Vaseraga since release, and he's an absolute beast with the character. Here's a couple of combos that you can do now with these charged heavy normals. There's a couple other changes being showcased here as well in the patch, which we'll go over in a bit. I wanted to showcase those combos, and I didn't know when else to do it. It felt appropriate to talk about them considering that we're discussing Vasaraga's new charged heavies. Vasaraga's JU has its startup reduced and the falling speed has been increased. This is what it looked like before. On to Vasaraga's special moves. Light Instinction causes a juggle state on grounded hits now. The lateral knockback has also been reduced. As you can see before, this was a grounded hit. This is how it behaves now. There's really no combo potential for this. I think this is just to allow Vaseraga to get a simple knockdown off of some hits without having to expend meter or go into stance. The light versions of Battalions of Fear, his light tackle, has its mid-air hit stun reduced. It now has only 20 frames of hit stun instead of 60. This likely just means that it's not going to be your go-to combo ender after you launch the opponent in some situations anymore. You can compare the old behavior here. The medium version of Battalions of Fear, when it's fully charged, has a couple of changes. Its damage has been increased, so now it will deal 2200 damage instead of 1800. The hit stop has been increased by 6 frames, so on block it will be -2. Before it was -4, so still safe, but at least Vaseraga could potentially fight back with some armored options or reversals here. Additionally, the travel speed and distance have been increased when it's fully charged. At full screen, it just barely whiffs. That's how it behaved in the old patch. In the new patch, it looks like this. Having this option be full screened is nice for Vaseraga. Once he gets Soul Forge on, he's going to be able to armor through some things and close the gap against opponents a lot more meaningfully. And if it's blocked, he's at least safer than he was before. The heavy version of Battalions of Fear has a couple of changes to it. The second hit will now cause a wall bounce. This means that when he's near the corner, he can use this to get a wall bounce and then link it to combos he couldn't before, increasing his overall damage. You've got to see some examples of this in Dez's combos videos. Additionally, if you charge the move now, you increase the damage. Before, you didn't. With no charge, both hits did 1000. Fully charged, you get 1400 on each hit. The ultimate version of Battalions of Fear also received some changes. It now has the same armor properties as Ravaging Stomp, so damage is reduced by 50%, but against unblockable skills, you're effectively unarmored still. At least that's my understanding of it. The change I can demonstrate right here is the difference on pushback on block. The second hit has reduced pushback when the first hit is blocked. This is just to keep Vaseraga closer for punishes, I suppose. This is what the push block looked like before. A lot farther away for the opponent. His command throws have all received some buffs as well. The light version has its throw range expanded. I'm not going to be sure how far that is, but the thing I can easily demonstrate for all of you is that the light, heavy, and ultimate versions can now grab grounded foes in hit stun. Before, you couldn't do that. This is what it looks like now. Obviously, this probably isn't going to be Vaseraga's ideal way of going into combos, but it gives him some extra utility on some grounded hits. 2 follow-ups to Savage Rampage have been buffed as well. The medium one, Sweeping Slash, now advances forward, expanding its attack range. And this is what it used to look like. Having a more effectively long-range low poke is going to be great for Vaseraga's neutral from Savage Rampage. Ravaging Stomp has also seen a couple of changes. The upper hitbox has been reduced. By how much, I'm not too sure. You'll be better off finding a hitbox viewer to compare the two versions. More importantly, compare the situation now. The enemy is farther back and you're -6. Against some matchups, you might not even be punished for this one. But at the very least, instead of getting a close proximity normal to punish you, you're only at best going to be punished by a far light. I want to give a big shout out again to Des Blueball for helping me out with the Vaseraga stuff, shooting me some insider tips onto what I'd be looking for in the video. Vaseraga overall is going to be a pretty menacing terror, I think, in this patch. His heavy charged normals now are going to actually have some utility once he pairs them with Iron Forge, so that he's going to be able to frame trap against mashing and blow up the opponent for those reasons. There's just more layers to Vaseraga's offense now, and it's a pretty cool thing to see. I can't wait to also watch a high-level player like Fuselit pull up with the character at larger events like TNS Online and ravage the competition with this character. I'm pretty excited to see what the future has in store for our big boy.